Chinese tennis superstar Peng Shuai has denied writing that she was sexually assaulted. Her comments come a little over a month after a detailed post on Chinese social media platform Weibo from her account, which alleged that she had been raped by China's former vice premier, Zhang Gaoli. Her latest statement came in the form of an interview with Singapore-based Chinese language newspaper Lianhe Zaobao. Peng was apparently at an event in Shanghai promoting next year's Winter Olympics. This is the video that emerged from that exchange.
首先，我要强调一点是非常重要的，我从未说过、写过任何人性侵我，这一点是要非常强调清楚的。
This denial is interesting because she denies saying or writing about sexual assault. It's a very roundabout way of denying an accusation. She could have simply said, no, there was no sexual assault. This is something we'll discuss further. But her comments are the latest in a series of events that appear to dent the initial allegations she made in November.
Nothing to see here. Peng Shuai now says she never wrote a social media post accusing former Vice Premier Zhang Gaoli of sexual assault. It's the latest doubling down to avoid a potential public relations fiasco for China's ruling Communist Party. Footage of Peng posted by a state media reporter on Twitter shows her with former NBA basketball star Yao Ming. Yao was probably the most recognisable Chinese sports star overseas and a member of the Communist Party's top advisory body. Singapore's Lianhe Zaobao Chinese language newspaper ran video of Peng in full patriotic garb. A China logo on her jacket and a red T-shirt bearing the characters for China. The newspaper's reporter asked Peng for clarifications about her allegations, and this is what Peng said.
微博首先呢是我个人隐私的问题，那已经有可能这个大家有很多的误解，所以呢不存在任何就是说。
There seemed to be no distorted interpretations when Peng initially made the post in November, but then it was quickly scrubbed from the Chinese web, but not before screenshots were posted on Twitter, setting off a global outcry. She disappeared after the accusation, and there were concerns for her safety. She reappeared at a tennis tournament in Beijing weeks later with the message that she was safe and well. The International Olympic Committee supported the official version and held a video chat with Peng some 3 weeks after the initial posting. It remains confident that she is fine and has stuck to its message, despite criticism.
We all were having the same impression, and that we could not feel her being under pressure.
The IOC was accused of staging a publicity stunt as calls grow to boycott next year's Winter Games in Beijing. And the Women's Tennis Association remained unconvinced. CEO Steve Simon said, in good conscience, I don't see how I can ask our athletes to compete there when Peng Shuai is not allowed to communicate freely and has seemingly been pressured to contradict her allegation of sexual assault. There's still no comment from Zhang Gaoli or the Communist Party hierarchy about the accusations, nor are any expected. But for now, repeated claims that nothing happened and that Peng is fine are being greeted mostly with scepticism.
Let's get more context on this from my colleague DW reporter Clifford Coonan, who joins me now in the studio. Clifford, there's been a steady stream of denials through emails, public appearances, impromptu media statements. Yet concern for Peng Shuai remains. Why is that so?
I think the reason is that China has a credibility problem when it comes to dealing with issues that are politically sensitive in a believable way. And that's basically what it boils down to. There's no free media to check what's happening, and people routinely disappear after making comments that are perhaps critical of the Communist Party. We saw recently the Alibaba tycoon Jack Ma disappeared for weeks, months, and then reappeared. It's fairly common. It's very different. In the West, you would typically have you'd have spin doctors getting on top of a problem as they see it and trying to spin a message in a particular way. Whereas in China, it's a very different approach. message. In some ways, it's kind of straight out of the Soviet Union playbook, where you had this Orwellian thing about controlling the narrative, and the narrative being what you say, what the Communist Party says it is. And in this case, it seems to be that they're saying that, well, they're sending a very much a mixed message, saying nothing to see here.
And they seem to be using Peng Shuai to do that. And therefore, I'd like to talk specifically about this video that has emerged from Shanghai that we just showed to our viewers. Now, Peng Shuai says that the Weibo post where she made the original allegations of rape, these are her personal issue, yet she hasn't ever said or written anything about sexual assault. She also says that there are misunderstandings, but no distorted interpretations. What is Peng saying here?
It's kind of difficult to work one's way through these because it's quite a confusing message. I think she's been coached on what to say. And basically, in some ways, there's an admit nothing here. I mean, the post is out there. Everyone saw it. Hundreds of millions of people saw this post in the 30 minutes that it was up. There's been no mention of it being a hack. There's been no mention of anything like that. So it's clearly, you know, the accusations are there, but then she's almost denying the accusations at the same time as admitting it. So it's very much as if she's been coached, if not to create confusion, but to basically sort of stick to her guns, saying that this is not an issue now, that you know, that there was no sexual assault, and that's where we stand.
And despite this video, you have the WTA, the Women's Tennis Association, the body to which Peng Shuai belongs and basically works under, if I can put it that way. The WTA remains unconvinced by this video, yet you have the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, which appears to be the only international body that is convinced that Peng Shuai is able to move around freely in China and able to express her opinion the way she wants to. Why is there this divergence between the two bodies?
Well, I think the WTA position is remarkable, actually, given that it has huge commercial interests here. It has billions of dollars to lose by not playing tournaments in China. And it seems to have gone with, you know, the initial idea that, you know, of skepticism of the way that this is being presented. The IOC has got the Winter Olympics coming up next year. It's got a strong stake in being what it considers apolitical, i.e. not getting involved in anything to do with issues like human rights or whatever. So they've clearly gone down this road. And it means that they want to protect the Winter Olympics, they want to try and shield everything, but at the same time try to appear as if they have the athletes' best interests at heart. But we also had another senior IOC member, Dick Pound, saying at one point that he wasn't going to, you know, put billions of people at stake just to rescue Peng Shuai. So it's very much shows a very different approach between the two sporting bodies.
Talk to us a bit about the man who's been accused of rape here, Zhang Gaoli, from whom we've heard nothing, actually. He's not any ordinary politician, right? I mean, he's a top-ranking one, but then explain to us the context of why these allegations from Peng Shuai directed at him are so significant.
Well, I think it's difficult to underplay how important Zhang Gaoli is as a political figure in China. China is run by a black box. We've no idea how decisions are made. Right. What we do know is that on top of the Politburo, you have the standing committee of 7 men, and it's always been men. And they make all the decisions in China. Everything that happens is decided by these 7 men on the standing committee. And he's a former member of that. And he was a member at a time when there was a lot of things happening in China. He's very allied to Li Keqiang, who's the premier, but he would have worked very closely with Xi Jinping as well. So he's an extremely important figure. So for this kind of accusation to come out against Zhang Gaoli is a massive event.
We'll leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us, Clifford.